Need to confess, need to confess, need to confess, need to confess, need to confess.
That's what I'm talking about.
Suits you, doesn't it?
I take it you heard what happened. Me at the cup game. It's alright, it's all over the papers, I know. But that was the night she went into labour. And I was there. Not with her. If you don't want to put it in the back of your head, I suggest you stay still.
Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, and welcome to the channel. We got in for a treat today. But just for those who may be new to the channel, we do all sorts of shows. We do football, MMA, boxing. We've had bands on, we've had actors on, we've had doctors on. We do mental health and sports series. We do conspiracy theory, serial killer files, all sorts of stuff. You pretty much find anything. But we do live football show every Monday with special guests, footballers, current and past, managers, coaches, etc. We do a championship show every Friday, which is live as well. And we have the Danny Batten Fight show every Wednesday. Plus all those other previous mentioned shows intermittently throughout the year. But you can find the video versions, youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation, and then the audio versions of every show we do at the usual podcast and radio platforms. Just search Ace Podcast Nation and you'll probably find about 380 odd shows. But with no further ado, I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, and he is actor Kris Johnson. You would have seen him in many films, including let's start. I love this list. 24 Little Hours. We've got Hooligan Legacy, Essex Vendetta, Who Needs Enemies, Welcome to the Punch, particular favourite of mine. But yeah, welcome, my friend. How are you, buddy?
I'm good as gold. How are you? Good to be on.
I'm all good, mate. I'm glad we get done, because obviously we started speaking just before Christmas, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
and that came about just by I was watching. I think I can't forget off the top of my head now which one it was. I think I watched two. I think I watched Who Needs Enemies and 24 Little Hours. Tweeted about it, tagged you in it, and you replied, and I was like, as I do, come on the channel, then, mate.
Any positive comments? I'm in.
Yeah, that's it, mate. The thing is, you never know on Twitter about positive comments. You probably get a lot of negativity on there, don't you?
Well, yeah. As I say, if anybody's complimented the film or nice about anything we've done, of course, I'll reply. I'll try to reply to as many as I can. They're all, But we had a bit of a technology problem last time, didn't we?
Yeah, so I think we were going to do it. I forget now if it was just before Christmas or just after, but you were away, weren't you? And the connection wasn't that great, so we decided to wait until we could get a better connection, which looks. I'm going to curse it now by saying it looks good. So
yeah, I was in the middle of nowhere. I was in Gloucester at the time, in the middle of a field. So yeah, I hoped it would work, but we're good now. We're here now. So
that's it, mate. And I think the thing is, when you're dependent on technology and stuff like that, it's out of your hands to a certain degree as well. But we've had a few questions from people, which we'll get to in a minute. And I got a few questions. Obviously, we'll have a chat about some stuff. But I guess what I like to do when I do these sorts of shows is kind of take the guests back to the start, ask them just to tell us a little bit about like them and where they grew up and the early days, I guess.
I think that's where we've sort of come across each other. I'm originally from Middlesbrough, so yeah, I'm from Borough boy, born and bred. My stepdad was a Borough player. Peter Johnson played for Middlesbrough, went to Darlington. I think he started at Newcastle before. I know it's Borough, then Newcastle, then Darlington. So he did all the North East clubs in a row. And my mum's sister married Gary Hamilton, who was a Middlesbrough footballing legend. Glaswegian, unbelievable player. Unfortunately, his career was cut short, but absolute battering ram in the middle there. Ask anybody in Middlesbrough, he's a legend up there. But my dad only had a spell at Borough. Arthur Cox signed him to Newcastle, and then he went to Darlington for Cyril Knowles.
Okay.
If we can get into that, there's some stories there. But then when I was about 8 years old, he got signed by Dave Webb at Southend United. So I moved down here with a borough accent and a mullet, and you know, and stayed here. So obviously, when I went to school here, so when he retired, they moved back up north. But obviously, because I knew everybody here, I went travelling after I left school, and then when I came back to down south because I just felt more at home here.
So was football something which you were interested in, like as a kid, and in terms of like as a teenager and that? Were you good at football?
Oh, yeah. I was a decent player. I'm not gonna sit there and say I was one of those ones that, you know, if I hadn't have injured myself, I would have made it. I'd probably never had the dedication to get to pro level. If I'd applied myself at the right time, I might have made a League 2 centre back at best. But I was a decent player, but I was a striker. I've always played up front. I've always been number 9. I still play now, Vets League. But I always loved football. It was one of those things at the time when I should have applied myself the most. It was when it was the last thing on my mind, you know.
Yeah. I do. I'm the same as that, mate. When I was all right, and then when I about 15, sort of 14, 15, 16, I sort of got picked for like, you know, like what's it called, like the South Wales FA School of Excellence, and like academy trials and all these sorts of things. But by that point, I was more interested in girls. I'd started smoking, and you try telling a teenage boy who's literally more interested in doing that he's got to go to training 3 times a week, and like it didn't happen at all. And that's not even me saying I would have been good enough, but I never found out because
I played at a decent level. I mean, I used to play up front with a fellow called Paul Benson, and he ended up going pro with Luton and Dagenham Redbridge, and he brought them into the league. He's a great player, fantastic player. And I think we had a season together where I scored 40 and he scored 75. But just an unbelievable player. And then I was young, and my dad was at Southend United. I remember the chairman, it was Vic Jobson at the time, just joking. Obviously, I was a young kid going, "Oh, we've got plans for you, little Johnson." And I remember sitting there going, "I might not want to be a footballer. I might not want to do that." And I wish I'd stuck to it now, to be honest. But at 15, I was gone. 15, 16, I was gone. I was living in Tenerife by the time I was 16 and a half by myself.
Was it? That's unusual. Like, you don't hear many people living abroad at that age, like on their own. Do you?
I was always an independent lad, but I knew as soon as I sort of I was allowed any independence, I was off.
Yeah. What were you doing out in Tenerife then, out there, 16?
I became a timeshare tout by the time I was 17.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof, I don't know how popular that'll be.
And people say to me, "What drama school did you go to?" I said, "I never went to drama school, but I was a timeshare tout in Tenerife for 5 years."
Yeah.
I couldn't have had any better baptism into characterization of, you know, people and accents and body language and facial expressions.
Got to get people to believe what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, but also to read people and to understand conversation and inflections of words, and it all becomes natural to you. So my first audition, they sent me the script, and I walked in. I was like, you know, I get unbelievable nerves in auditions. I get, you know, before I'm in there, I feel like I'm going to pass out. But once I'm in there, it's like in my head, I've got, watch this.
Yeah.
You weren't expecting this, you know.
It's like the build up to stuff, isn't it? Like, I think some of the bigger shows I've done, like just with this, like I've done, I think probably coming up to 400 shows now. But even some of the biggest shows which we've done, like especially some of the Welsh footballers who, like, I grew up like idolising and like they were my heroes. That's very difficult, but in the build up. But then as soon as it starts, you just forget about it. But it's just start thinking about it beforehand.
It's them. I've always used the analogy of football with it. It's like trying to walk in as a player and saying, right, you got 2 minutes. Show me how good you are.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't show you how good I am. You need to put me in a game. And you're like, you can't be in the game until you pass this audition. You're like, okay, so what do you want me to do? There's no way I could possibly show you how good I am and what I'm capable of in these 2 minutes in front of you. So you have to try and, it's the best way to describe it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, like you say, how much can someone judge of you in a few minutes? It's difficult.
Because they have to see so many. But the real thing is, it's you've just got to stand out slightly. But what they want to see, no one will ever know. So you can never worry about it, because I've seen people lose parts and get parts because of, an inch in height, or the color of the dark, of their hair compared to the child that's already picked. It could be anything. You can never take it personally. You really can't.
That's interesting, isn't it? Like, there's so many different reasons, things they might be looking for.
Oh, it's a million different reasons. A million.
Could be out of your hands as well, couldn't it? It could have nothing to do with your performance. Could just be.
If you walk out the audition and go, right, I've done the best I can do. That's it. Forget about it. That's all you can do. If you get it, great. If you don't worry about it. There's some that you want more than others, obviously, and you kind of, you got your fingers crossed, but you can't worry about it. As long as you've done your job, you've done your bit, you've done your best, you go home and you can be happy. But as I say, because they could have had the perfect lead woman, and I'm too tall. I'm too tall for that woman. It could be anything.
You can't do anything about that then, can you?
No, of course not.
So you were out. Sorry, mate. You were out in Tenerife, age 17, doing the timeshare stuff. Where did that sort of change come then from sort of timeshares and Tenerife to acting?
Well, as I say, there was a really easy transition there. I learned my trade as an actor, I think, out there, without a doubt. I was quite successful at the job. Apologies to anybody that we took in for the timeshare, but that was how I learned my trade. I earned good money, and I was good at it. And it was very much my coming of age out there. I went out there very much a boy and came back a man. Probably grew half a foot in height and half a foot wider, and I came back a very different person. I went out there thinking I knew it all, and I came back realizing I didn't know it all, but I knew more than I did. I was only here for a little while. Oh gosh, I ended up having a son. Let's cut a long story short. I ended up having a son, and his mother is more of a friend, so we were never really together, and we get on great. We have a fantastic relationship still to this day. I have a fantastic son. I get on really well with his mum and her fellow this year. They have 2 kids together. But I was here now. I knew it. I was going to stay here to be a dad. I wasn't going anywhere anymore. No more traveling, no more surfing and doing whatever I wanted. I was staying in the UK. So I thought, if I'm going to do this, since I was a kid, everybody in the family's always said, look, you're either going to make the family name by being in prison and running a gang, or you're going to be an actor. And I always wanted to do it. I was always reciting lines and reading scripts and watching scenes and reciting them from a very young child. I could always do accents. I could always play around with things. So I thought, I'm just going to go for it. So I did.
Excellent. So what was that what was the first audition you did?
See, I tell this story a lot of people ask me this. The true story is there's 2 of them. I originally went for a music video for a young artist, still a friend now, called Mudja, and it was about domestic violence, and I played the domestic violence father. And it just when you just something solidifies you. When you're in front of the camera, I just knew that's what I was meant to do, genuinely, without sounding too spiritual or anything. I just knew that's what I was meant to do. I'd never been more content in anything I'd ever done before. So then I did another audition. There was a guy I met on set on another, being an extra. I was an extra for about 6 months, just behind the scenes. But I knew very well that's not what I wanted to be. I knew what I wanted to do just by being on set. I understood what it took, I think.
I find that fascinating because, like, we just had a chat just before we started recording about my situation and about how I started doing this. And, like, I had sort of best part of 20 years of doing something else, and I was good at that, but I never really, I'd say there wasn't very many days where I got up and went to work and enjoyed it. And then my situation changed through no sort of, no fault of my own. It was no big decision. It was a decision which was made for me because of a car accident. And then I've ended up doing this, and I feel like sometimes I feel like I really wish I had done this like 15 years ago. But then equally, before the internet and stuff like this, it would have been a different route again. So like we had go on.
same for me as well in that aspect. The technology made it more accessible for me to get into independent films. Independent films didn't have the release or the stretch or outreach that they do now without the technology. So yeah, without a doubt.
Wicked. I find it really interesting, Midge, I do, because, like, you know, for all the faults that technology has and the problems that it causes in various ways and fields, like, ultimately it's changed the game for the from a positive aspect for so many things. And like just very quickly, I got asked, I did someone else's podcast on Thursday, and they asked me about our football show, which is like sort of the flagship show of the channel. And the Monday football show, where we've had all sorts of footballers and coaches and stuff, and they said, "Oh, what would your ultimate aim be for that show?" And I was like, "Well, if you'd asked me about 6 months ago, I'd have said, you know, a slot on the radio, talk sport, something like that, TV, just something like that, to take it to the, you know, the best place it could be." And then in the sort of past 6 months, I've kind of realised that we don't have to do that to take it to where we want it to go. At the end of the day, if it pays the bills and you enjoy doing it, if you can do it through the internet and get sponsors and funding and everything independently and do it yourself, you're still in control of it. And like,
also, how did you think TalkSport started?
Yeah, that's it. Started from somewhere, mate, didn't it? I think they've off the top of my head, they changed about 3 times, haven't they? They were talk radio for a while, and
it's just that thing. Everything comes from a fella sat on his own with a little bit of guile, ready to push himself and go for it a little bit more, and then it gets picked up. You know, it's exactly the same situation. You can sit on your arse and hope it happens one day, or you can get up and go and do it. Without sounding like a motivational speaker, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's I 100% agree, because again, I don't want to talk too much about me because I'd rather talk about you. But like we hit, I think, 250,000 views or whatever the other week, or last week, or the week something. Yeah, last week. So brilliant. It don't sound like that much for a YouTube channel. There's channels out there with millions and millions and all sorts of, you know, bigger channels. But like for me, like it's literally just me in my house. I started, you know, I just built it from just an idea, a thought of something to help me with my own sort of mental health and try and get my head around some certain things, and it's just kind of grown and grown and keeps growing. So like that was a big kind of shot.
Do you find it does help your mental health?
Big time. I'd be lost without it, because it gives me something to focus on. Like obviously I had that car accident and it changed my ability of what I can and can't do physically, and that had like a really bad impact on my mental health, because my wife, who when we had the crash, like she'd been married to me 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We'd been together a lot longer, so she went from like. Well, mate, I say this all the time. Like, so we got married at the time. We had 2 kids. It was 6 and 4, I think, at the time, and we got married. We had plans to do this, that, and the other. We both worked full time. She was pregnant by the time the time we had the car accident. So she was pregnant with our third child. Then we had the car accident. Everything's changed. Do you know what I mean? And it's not just the fact that she had to do more with the kids. She had, for 3 years, she had to wash me, dress me, do all that sort of stuff, feed me. Do you know what I mean? And I say all the time, a lot of women would have said, "Look, I'm really sorry. This isn't what I signed up for," and it's not.
Hats off to your missus. Hats off to your missus, buddy. Wow.
She had sickness and health real quick, mate. Real quick. But yeah. She
went back and checked any small print in that and those out.
yeah, sitting there just to double check there was no route. No, she
we get out.
Yeah. But the answer to your question, like I think once I started doing this, probably just under 2 years ago, I think it is now, like straight away it gave me something to get my teeth into and creatively and just build. And it started off where I was doing it on my phone, on Skype. Yeah. And then I was like, I want this to look a bit better.
Yeah.
And then as it's gone on, I'll change different things, and I've invested in better equipment and just kind of gone from there. And like as it's growing bigger and bigger, I'm thinking of different series and creatively to what I can do to do different stuff. Just taking a bit of a life of his own. But who was the first like big actor which you met through your own work?
See, that depends. It depends what you call a big actor. The first time I saw someone, okay, so as I said, I did a little bit of extra work at first, and I was in Captain America, the first Avenger, the first one they did, and there's a scene in it where I'm an American GI and I'm right at the front, and when he's on stage, when he's just doing the little tour, and it cuts to him doing all these little tours, and he's punching Hitler and all this, and then it cuts to about 1,000 American GIs sat in front of him in Italy, and I'm at the front, sat there, and they're not buying the show. So I shout out something in American. What was it? Bring out the girls. That was it. And he goes, they only know one song. And then another friend behind me throws a tomato. So we'd been sat there for a week. We'd been on set for a whole week. They hadn't used us. We've been sitting on these tanks, reading newspapers, being fed the finest foods. We had a menu for food. We're all in full costume and makeup every day, and they never used us. All full pay, nearly 100 of us. You wonder where these big budget movies, where the money goes. And on the last day, we were like, well, we're not going to be used. And they brought us all in. He wanted us. He brought us in, and we shot all that scene. And after it finished, I was stood at the side, and I looked to my right, and there's this little old guy just stood to the right of me. And you know when you go, I know him, and your head goes, I know him. And I went, all right, buddy, how you doing? And he went, hi, and just kind of turned and walked away. And in my head, I went, shit, Tommy Lee Jones. Because he was so small, I think. My brain hadn't registered it. And he obviously got too close to me by accident. And but yeah, that was the first one I was near. But the first one I met and spent time with, the only time I've ever been genuinely starstruck was I'll say it out loud, terrible film called Just for the Record, and it had Rick Mayall in it, and I was in the background of that, and he was just unbelievable. I'd watched Bottom, Young Ones, and stood there just staring at him, and he came and sat and had lunch with us on the bus, and everybody was trying to talk to him, so I thought, I'm not going to hassle him, I'm not going to hassle this guy, I'm just going to play it cool, and everyone was trying to talk to him, so he finished his lunch and decided to indulge everyone. And he said, okay, so what was your favourite character that I played? And they all said, oh, he loved Bottom. And, they're reciting the lines to him. And, I loved Young Ones and all this. And he sort of looked at me to the right as if, he could tell I was bursting to speak to him, And he went, what's your favourite? And I went, it's got to be Captain Flashheart in Blackadder. And he went, that's my favourite character. And I went, really? And he went, my favourite character I've ever played. And he told me the story about how none of them knew what he was going to do. When he did the rehearsals, nobody knew what he was going to do. And when he burst through the door, and go, woof, and, and does all this bit in the... He says, if you look at Rowan Atkinson's face, he's in shock just like everyone else. He has no idea that he's about to do that. He nearly breaks the door off the hinges as he breaks through. But yeah, he sat there talking to me. I was just in awe. Of the guy. And they all had pictures with him, and I didn't want to be uncool. I didn't have a picture with him, and I really wish I had. Really sad. I really wish I had.
Yeah, he's so I think especially like if you're British and you're into comedy, and you're like around our age, I think like he is one of the true icons.
True legend.
And like
true legend.
Yeah. And I've never heard anyone or seen an interview with anyone say a bad word about him. He just seems like he was just a genuine.
Little story. Go on. He went into the toilet, and the guy that owned the nightclub where we were filming had gone in, and so I'm washing my hands in the bathroom, and Rick Mayall's walked in. He's walked over to the urinal, and he's going for a wee. So in my head, I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's going for a wee in the same place. And the nightclub owner where we were filming walked in behind him and said, Rick, sorry, buddy, do you mind if you can I get a picture when you come in? He goes, yes, that's fine, but I'm quite an old man and I'm trying to get my willy to work. Do you mind fucking off? I was just like this, that was just, amazing.
Perfect, that is. That must be difficult. Like, I don't know, like, what, do you ever have, like, people asking you for photographs or autographs or, like, in inappropriate times?
I have a mixture. People have either seen my films or they haven't. Generally, guys around my age that are into football and stuff, they've seen the Hooligan films, they kind of know who I am, but everybody's always respectful with me. What I get a lot of is they go past me in the high street and their brain goes, I recognize him. He's not famous. I must know him. So they go, hey, how you doing? I go, hey, how you doing? But, they don't know me. They have no idea who I am. So I just go politely, just go, yeah, how you doing, buddy? But yeah,
this got to be tricky, mate.
But I get a lot of where people maybe seen the film the night before, and they might bump into me in a chip shop. I had a moment in a McDonald's once where one started to ask for a picture and an autograph, and then everybody did. And I'm pretty sure half the people that were doing it had no idea who I was,
So what I like to do, Kris, as well, mate, is something which is taken over from the football show, and it's called Magnificent Seven. And what it is 7 quick-fire questions, some more difficult than others. I sometimes chuck a grenade in there to see what people say, but they're only in jest. Not supposed to cause you any issues, shall we say? But let's have a go at that. Magnificent Seven, nice and easy to start. Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
Good man. Favorite TV show?
Oh my word. What are we talking here? What are we talking?
Anything, innit? Whatever you like. What you watch the most?
Ray Donovan.
That's good. I still haven't. I've watched the first episode and I haven't watched any since.
Or First 48.
Yeah, nice. Angriest person you've ever been on set with?
What's his name? Jeff. What's the ginger one from The Business? You know the angry one in The Business?
Yeah, I know him. I just can't think of what his name is.
Jeff something.
Yeah.
Jeff Bell.
Is it Bell? Yeah, it is, isn't it?
He was hilarious. He was funny. He was great. But yeah, don't get on the wrong side of him. Don't get on the wrong side of him.
Danny Dyer or Tamer Hassan?
Both friends of mine. So
making you
Danny.
pick between your friends.
Danny.
I like it. Oasis or Blur?
Oasis.
Good. Thank God for that. I thought we were going to have to fall out then. But Stephen King or Steven Spielberg?
Spielberg.
And finally, the best director you've ever worked under and why?
It's got to be Peter Stigliano. He started my career. He put his neck out for me when nobody else would, and gave me Who Needs Enemies. And I've come full circle. I've just done another one with him, and he's just as enjoyable. He's a really complex character. I think some people don't understand him or don't get him, but I get him. Love him.
Good stuff. So we had a few questions sent in by the people, and I've got a couple more questions, but we'll go with the questions from the people first of all. So Bronze Alicious on Instagram said, hey there, hope you're good. Can you ask Kris Johnson the following for me, please? Favourite role to date?
Chris, Who Needs Enemies?
Dream role?
It's got to be Bond. Or Bond villain.
Bond villain would be good, wouldn't it?
Great question.
And also, where was your suit from in Who Needs Enemy? Because it was a belter.
Bronze, you say? I know this. I know who this is. Kate Bronze. I know who this is. She's a old friend. It's from Savile Row. It was made for me by an unbelievable tailor. I wish I could remember his name, but yeah, I've still got the suit.
Nice. And Mr. Tekker's Cook said, who's the actor that you look up to the most and see as a role model?
Gary Oldman. Purely because he's different in everything that he does. If you sit there and tell somebody that cop in Leon is the white Rasta in True Romance, they wouldn't believe you.
Yeah.
And now he's the Commissioner Gordon. It's that to me is unbelievable. Now he's Churchill. Nobody's ever questioned his American accent. Nobody's ever questioned any character he's ever played. I love it. I also love Daniel Day-Lewis, but that's quite cliche. And I'm sad that Jack Nicholson's retired and I'll never get to work with him.
Who got you into acting?
Me.
You.
But the film that sealed it for me was Nil by Mouth with Ray Winston.
That's an amazing film. That is. I love it. It's one of my favourite films. That is.
And, it's one of the
um,
best films I've ever seen.
Mr. Tekker's Cook, he also asked, can you let him know if you're definitely coming up for his birthday as well?
Tekker's Cook. That's this is he's like this guy's he's in Middlesbrough. He's in Middlesbrough. I love this guy. Absolutely love him. Tell him I'm there. Anything that he wants me to go to, anything he invites me to in Middlesbrough, I'll be there. I love him. Absolute legend, this fella.
So, what was the other question? Oh yeah, JD was asking, have you ever fell out with anyone on set?
Nothing serious. There's always moments on set. There's a lot of people. Everybody on set cares about what's going on, a lot. So you have moments where you think maybe things aren't going right or whatever. There's always somebody will always have a little moment. I wouldn't say I was a diva, but I have been known to tell people to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But I've never had a big fallout. I've got a couple of people I wouldn't work with again, but no real fallout.
Anyone you want to talk about?
No.
No, I had to ask you. After you said it, I had to ask you. And also, Gaz...
You'll be able to tell in 20 years out of the ones I haven't worked with again.
Yeah, that's a go. Gaz says, what's been your most difficult role?
Most difficult was probably Erebus for Black Site.
Any particular reason?
Well, I'd always played roles that I was comfortable with and that I had experienced or I had some sort of grounding in. Black Site was playing a god trapped in a dead convict's body.
It's not something
it was my first sci-fi. It was -3 in tunnels in the middle of nowhere. But I learned a lot as an actor. I remember walking into every single scene. I had so much dialogue. And I walked into every scene. I remember walking into them thinking, what the hell is my line? What are my lines? I haven't got a clue. Literally couldn't pluck one of those lines out of my head. And as soon as they said action, it was just there. It just came out. Very, if you speak to the director, I don't think maybe once or twice I might have dropped a line where somebody had come in early and cut me, but it was just all there. I'd been so concerned about getting it right, and I'd read it so much. It was all in there. I just needed to relax. That was very difficult.
Something I've always wondered about acting, and particularly on like a longer movie or like TV shows and stuff, is like, one, because my memory is shocking, how on earth do actors remember all this dialogue and all these scenes and stuff, because they don't always film them in order either, which is is another thing. And I just kind of wondered, are you expected to know every single word of every single scene, or are you expected to know the gist of it, and then if you
no, you've got to know your lines. That's a difference between that's not a difference between a good actor and a bad. That's a difference between a professional actor.
Yeah.
I know all my lines. I know everyone else's lines.
And I think like when I think about it, because obviously I got zero experience in learning things like lines and stuff, other than as a kid.
But neither did I. I never thought ever be able to learn lines. It's the importance of it. Do you have a TV show or a movie that you love, and every time it comes on, you could sit there and mime it if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, got a few of those.
Right. Okay. So all you have to do, that's a place in your brain that you go to. That's not because you've watched it so many times. That's the interest that you have in it. So what you do is I tap into that bit. So it becomes so important to me. Have you ever read a book as well and gone 2 pages and gone, I didn't read any of that?
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same thing. It's because you've not engaged that part. So I know how to get my brain interested and engage it. And once I'm doing that, it just goes in. It just goes in. Sometimes I think it's not, but it is.
It's still wild to me, because it must be more difficult as well when it's filmed out of order. But then I don't like that.
I don't like that. I don't like that because I always like to know where I've come from. So if it's in sequence, I know where I am in my head.
Yeah, of course.
And what I've just shot, I know what's just happened. I know what my mood is. I know how to take this. When it's not chronological, I need someone to go to me, right, Kris, you've just come from here. This is what's just happened.
Yeah.
It
could be a bit of a minefield.
It can take you out of it. It can take you out of it. You can lose a little bit of the quality because of it.
Would you say you're like a method actor, or do you just dip in and out?
No, but I have employed that before. It depends. I always thought method acting was quite indulgent and not needed, but some characters do. So, for instance, Erebus, I stayed in character most of the day. Not like everybody had to treat me like that, but I just I stayed away from everybody. I stayed in the tunnels. About an hour before, I didn't go near anyone. I was him. Kris in Who Needs Enemies. Once the suit was on and I came downstairs, nobody spoke to me.
Do you prefer playing like a villain type character, like a bad character, or a good character?
Always the villain.
Always the villain.
I always wanted to be the hero. I always wanted to be the lead because I thought that's what it was. I thought that was the pinnacle. And I played the lead a few times. It was boring as hell. You've got to be so vanilla. You got to be so vanilla because you're the vehicle for the audience.
Yeah.
So they've got to be able to. You're them. So they've got to be able to stay with you all the time. So if you're too up and down, they'll lose you, and they can't relate to you. So you've got to be vanilla all the way through. But as a villain, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. I can go wherever I want with it. I can play with it. I can snarl. I can do whatever I want because I'm the villain. I'm the bad guy. You don't know. I'm nothing to do with you. I can do whatever I want.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think I'd be better at a villain than a goodie, but I don't know. It is.
I promise you, it's much more fun.
So I was just having a look then. Like, obviously, we mentioned at the start of the show, we started speaking back in November after I'd watched 24 Hours in London, and I sent you a tweet, or whatever. And one of the things which stood out for me is when I tweeted that, I was about an hour or so into the film, I think, and you hadn't even said that you hadn't spoken, but your performance, even though you hadn't spoken, had really kind of captivated me into the film and caught my eye. Like, to me, that says a lot about your abilities as an actor, that you didn't have to speak for me to be interested in the character.
I'll be honest with you now. I don't think I pulled it off in that film. I don't think I pulled off what I wanted to do. No, not at all. I don't think I came close to what I wanted to do. What had happened? I'd just finished. I finished Black Site as Erebus. It was all dialogue. As I said, it was a difficult role for me to play. And when I finished it, I went straight on holiday, just for a break. And that's when I got the call and spoke to about 24 Hours in London. I'd put myself forward for it beforehand, and then I realised it was no dialogue. So I jumped right into it, and I thought, I can pull this off. Can I pull this off with no dialogue? And there's certain bits I loved, there's certain bits I hated, but I don't think I pulled it off.
No, that's interesting, that is, because, like I said, I was genuinely, captivated by the character, And obviously,
as I say, there's some bits.
But you, as an actor, you didn't feel like you.
I should have been more subtle. I should have been more subtle. I overacted some parts because I was frustrated because I couldn't talk. Too many expressions when I didn't. I just needed to be still, and that's it. That's experience. That's me learning. That was me. I'm still in my apprenticeship now. I'm 10 years off being the actor I want to be. But when I watch that, I see an actor desperately wanting to talk and not knowing what to do because he can't. That's what I see.
Yeah, I suppose it's and like you say, it's about learning as well, because that's a very different role, isn't it? When you've got to act without speaking, to being maybe a villain in something, or a hooligan in something, or a god in something. Like, it's very different to have to do all your acting with your body and your body language and your facial expressions.
It's difficult. And there was a scene in it where I'm sat between Mark Bannerman and Danny Midwinter, and both of them I know are good, really strong actors, and both impressed me in the film. And to sit between two strong actors that know their trade really well, exchanging dialogue, and I'm in the background not talking, was one of the most frustrating experiences of my life. Because they had moments where they were ad-libbing.
Yeah, of course.
And I couldn't join in. I couldn't add to that. And all I wanted to do was be a part of that scene. But really, I was like a prop in the background. That's how I felt. And I shouldn't have seen like that. What I should have done, and I've spoken to the director about it since, is I should have got up and got out of that scene and said, "You don't need me here." And that's what we should have done. But there's lots of things. You live and learn. You live and learn from stuff. There's lots of stuff I look back on and wish I'd done it differently. In fact, everything I've ever done, I would look back on and wish I'd done it differently.
What? So obviously, when we were going to do this initially, you're off to film a project. Are we allowed to talk about that a little bit, or are you not allowed to talk about it?
Yes, we are.
So I know, because you had said at the time we can't really talk about it, but obviously because time's moved on now, we can. So that is Confession, is that correct? And it's with the legendary Colm Meaney, which
Colm Meaney,
mate, that must be. Have you worked with him before?
No,
mate,
no.
This is incredible.
It's not just Colm Meaney; it's Stephen Moyer. There's 5 people in this movie, and that's it. And I'm one of them. It's an unbelievable script. Unbelievable director. Ridiculous. Couldn't believe it. I'd throw my name in the hat early on, but there's one of those ones you just think, no way, not a chance.
Yeah.
I'm cutting on the lines here. I'm Colm Meaney's son, so no chance. And I got the late call, and I was in.
Amazing. What? When's that out now then?
June.
Amazing. Like, I've been really looking forward to that, because I think that.
So am I. Because I've not seen any. I was brought in really quickly. It's a pivotal character that I play, and he's spoken throughout the film. But I'm the finale. That's what I'm part of. And
yeah.
I have no idea what the shot, but it's me, Colm Meaney, and Stephen Moyer, and
amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, true legends of the game, mate.
Yeah. Nice guys as well. Really good guys.
Gaz sent in another question I just noticed, and he asked, how much fun is it doing films like Undercover Hooligan, Hooligan Legacy, Essex Vendetta as well? He says, like, they must have been a lot of fun just to film and do.
Yeah, do you know what it was with those? All the crews and everybody on there, they're all still good friends of mine to this day. Okay, so I'll give you a little insight. So Undercover Hooligan was called Undercover. Hooligan Legacy was called Legacy. Essex Vendetta was called On a Prayer. Those are the films I signed up for.
Yeah.
But when they're released and to get distribution, to sell them more, those other words were added. At the time, I was devastated. I'll be honest with you. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do hooligan films. That's not what I want to do. But that's what got me out there. And the producers of the films were right, because it sold them. And whether it was what I wanted at the time, it's taken me to where I am now. So I don't regret any of it. But yeah, honestly, what a great time.
Yes, spot on, mate. You played a doorman in, was it a doorman in Welcome to the Punch? that must have been quite the experience, because obviously that's a massive British film, but just the people involved in it, mate.
Yeah, well, as I say, small part, but I was with Mark Strong. So yeah, and who was really nice to me, and actually took me to the side and spoke to me about how I should approach stuff, and said he said, you've got a really good look, you should really pursue this. And I was like, I am, that's what I'm doing, I'm trying to pursue it. And he goes, well, you need to do everything. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, just do everything, go and do the student films, go and do the, but don't do any extra work, don't do extra work for too long, because that's what you become. Go and do all the student films and learn your trade. And that's what I did.
Amazing, yeah, because there's some huge names in that, but like, that's the I would imagine for you, that must have just been almost like a little more of just a taster to just want it even more, because you see James McAvoy, you see Mark Strong, two legends of the game. That's just going to give you them.
As I say, you learn things throughout. I mean, I'm not going to say who, but I worked with, bigger actors, and I watched them walk on set, and we'd all be sat there, and you could see all the girls and the guys going, look, there's the lead, there's the lead. There he is over there. And they just blank them. They just ignore them. And I remember thinking in my head, if I ever get to that stage, I will never be that guy, because it means a lot to people. It's not it's not about you. It's because they've seen you in stuff. It's not you as a person. They're not worshipping you. They've seen you in stuff, and it interests them. They want to talk to you. It's interesting. So talk to them, So I always walk up to all the extras, no matter how many, introduce myself, ask them where they've come from, thank them for their time that they've come down and done that for us that day. And it means a lot to people. You know better than anybody else, but what it does when they watch you on screen, it turns you into something that you're not.
Yeah.
You just have to remember that you're not.
Yeah, like that. 30 seconds speaking to whoever. That can like be. It's hard to say. Like, I don't want to say life changing, but like if it's like a huge actor, band, whoever, like 30 seconds speaking to someone who is like an idol of yours, that can really make a difference to your day, to your week, to your life. I mean, 30 seconds doesn't make a difference to the person who's giving the 30 seconds up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 minutes of my time. As I say, I'm nobody's idol, but if somebody's interested in what I've done, or they've seen a couple of my films, they want to talk to me and ask me a question. Geez, the least I can do is give them some of my time. Right?
Do you got any interest in like writing and stuff like that?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah. Okay, so that story I told you about earlier. The Tenerife timeshare, that's written, and it's written between me, George Russo, who's an unbelievable actor, and Greg Hall, who's one of the biggest up and coming directors at the moment, and we've written it together, and it's basically me at 18 years old in Tenerife, and it's an unbelievable script.
I'll keep a lookout for that then, mate. Is I suppose lastly, to finish us off, mate, I could talk to you for ages, mate. I could talk to you literally for another hour. But
I'll tell you what I'll tell you what, you said this before to me. I'd like to come and do I'll come and do your football Monday night bit if you want.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, 100%, mate. Because obviously Andy's a ex-Borough striker. He's all about the Borough.
If he's Borough, I'm in.
But to be fair, like, a lot of the people who watch live, they're like, it's like a split between Cardiff and Borough fans generally, and then there's a few others, but it's very much that's the core audience, like, is Borough, and because of him, really, like.
I've got a Borough lion on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of my cousins have it. Can we keep my phone up without me losing my? Hang on. I'll do it. See, I tell people that I was born with it. Hang on.
Unfortunately, Chris's internet, he had a few internet issues, connection issues, so we had to wrap it up there. But Kris is definitely coming back on in the future. We had a fantastic chat. Unfortunately, when we're at the hands of technology, it is in fact out of our hands. But it was a phenomenal and fascinating chat with a great actor, and I really urge you, if you're not familiar with Chris's work, check out some of his films. There's a good few of them on Amazon Prime, and I urge you to check him out. And he's also got a couple of new ones coming, and a top secret project coming as well. I urge you to check him out. follow him on social media. Links to all of that stuff's in the description as well for the episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're hoping to get some more actors on, and of course we have bands, musical acts, as well as regular shows on football, mental health in sport. We've got our films and TV podcast is coming back, where we talk about the latest trailers, we look at TV shows, etc. We're coming back with a bang as we review WandaVision and look at the trailers going into the rest of 2021, among other things. You can also listen to just the audio versions of the usual podcast platforms all around the world, just everything: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all those podcast platforms. Just search Ace Podcast Nation, and there is over 380 shows of all sorts of content and guests. When I say top guests, I mean top guests, whether it's top UFC fighters, top Bellator fighters, top boxers, ex-boxers, ex-fighters. We've had actor Johnny Owen. We've had the bands The Crook on. We've had rapper T-Rev on. We've also had many a footballer. We've had the Cardiff City chairman, Mehmet Dalman, on, who never does any media at all, which was a fascinating show. We've had Emil Heskey, former England international, Charlie Adam, Joe Jacobson, who plays for Wycombe Wanderers. So many top guests to name in all fields. Whatever show we do, we aim to get top guests. So if you are new to the channel, I urge you to check them out. Even the mental health and sport show series, we did a mini series, myself and my co-host Jacob, who's a mental health support worker for the NHS. He and I spoke to Chris Kirkland, former Liverpool and England goalkeeper. We spoke to Keith Gillespie, ex-Manchester United winger, among others. Lots and lots of different guests. We're hoping to do a mental health and music series later this year, plus mental health in sport series 3. But like I say, so many good shows, good series with top guests. Check it out, youtube.com/AcePodcastNation. Click that bell for notifications. Most of all, spread the word. Thank you for watching us. Thank you and welcome to all the new viewers. And most of all, thank you to Kris Johnson for joining me, because I had a lot of fun chatting to him. He's a top bloke, and he did not have to give me his time. I'm a small independently run channel. I tweeted him to compliment him on his film, and before I knew it, he was coming on for a chat. He was very generous with his time. He's been edited down a little bit because of the connection issues, but he will 100% be back, so keep an eye out for that. If in the meantime, like I said, we had Welsh actor Johnny Owen on previously, which was also a fascinating chat. 2 top British talents right there. But in the meantime, take it easy, my friends, and I'll be back with more shows, more content, more videos very soon. In the meantime, you be safe, take care, see you soon.
Need to confess. Need to confess. Need to confess. Need to confess. Need to confess.
That's what I'm talking about.
Sushi, didn't it?
I take it you heard what happened. Me at the cup game. It's alright, it's all over the papers, I know. But that was the night she went into labour. And I was there. Not with her. If you don't want to put it in the back of your head, I suggest you stay still.